So this look was inspired by me trying to find a way to incorporate some cosplay into my channel. I do a lot of makeup, and sometimes it's not always necessarily for like regular everyday makeup, although I probably will post one of those later. Most of the makeup I do in reference to any makeup that I usually do is pretty elaborate in a way, but this is probably like the most elaborate outside of like a few Halloween makeup that I've done in other cosplays. So I can't wait for you guys to see how this turns out in the end. But in this video, basically I was just doing a lot of like listening to music, so excuse a lot of like the crazy faces or whatever you see, because like I was really heavily and deeply into the song. Well, a few songs, if I'm being honest. But I love doing this look just because it took a while to actually pull together and getting the ears. The even more elaborate look than this that I decided to do with the actual like full on ears and horns that I actually made myself. I decided not to post just because it wasn't really what I wanted it to look like, but I'm gonna work on it more so later on we could possibly get, you know, a new fairy look and have the wings and the whole gamut. So, this look was pretty easy to do. At the same time, it kind of wasn't, just because of the simple fact that it took a while to actually get the ears a particular color. Yes, I know I could have done it with makeup, but it wouldn't have stayed very well, even if I did put setting spray. So I ended up having to paint the ears, and even that kind of didn't help. Even though like I put things over it to make sure the paint stayed, it did, but like the wig and sweat it's just a lot. But I digress. Anyways, the flower crown was made very easily. I went to Dollar Tree, which I use for a lot of my DIY stuff, just because like I know I'm gonna always find things there, as well as stuff that I probably wouldn't have thought of to try to find while I was out. So that's another really great thing as to why like I love going to the dollar store, or Dollar Tree, or Dollar General, just because dollar stores really be having stuff that like you don't know about, especially if you go into like the nicer areas, quote unquote. And where I live at, like Chesapeake, is a nicer area, so like every Dollar Tree in Chesapeake always has like a lot of stuff, especially one close to my grandparents, because for some reason they just always have a lot of stuff. So this is my first time actually doing like a fairy look and freckles, which you don't see me do in the full clip, but at the end you do see freckles, and it was something that was not necessarily easy to do, but I'm realizing that like the process of freckles is a lot more than I intended. It looks good, but you know, trial and error, which is another thing that I'm really happy I decided to do this look, because this is one of my kind of trial and error things where it was done in one shot. So this wasn't one of my mini makeups that like I tested before I did it, which I have said in previous videos, I do test a lot of my looks prior to me actually doing them, just because one, I want to know how it looks, two, I don't want to put something together and I don't think it looks right, and then like I put it out there and it's like people are like, oh yeah, that's great, and then in my head I'm just like, I don't know why I did that. I do that a lot, and I've done that plenty of times before, where like I bought something, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people can like, you know, like you buy something, you're like, oh yeah, it's great now, and then like later on you're realizing you shouldn't have bought it because it's not as great as you thought it was. EI flashback to like 18th birthday in high school, and like I'm like, oh yeah, I want to buy a last minute dress. Mind you, I was literally coming back from Chicago, like just getting home like hours before midnight, which my birthday was, and like I'm buying a dress to wear to school the next day. I'm like, oh yeah, this looks great. It looks just fine. I hated the dress the entire day I wore it. So I was like, I shouldn't have wore this. This is really ugly. This is not me. For those of you who do follow my Instagram, it's a ways back, but there is an actual picture of me in the dress. If you find it, kudos to you. I might give you a shout out on the next video if you let me know. Comment down below. But like it was just a really terrible dress, and everyone was like, "Oh, it looks nice." I'm like, "This is hideous and a very poor decision on my part." So yeah. But as you can see, I was definitely feeling myself in the video. The next video, I definitely will try to include more audio from like the actual videos that I'm doing, as opposed to doing voiceovers, just so like some snippets of like what I'm doing while I'm doing my makeup can be seen. Because most of the time I'm either on the phone or like listening to music or trying to keep my dog from doing something drastic. But other than that, you know, just hunky-dory. But this was one of my favorite looks, like I was saying, just because of the fact that like I very rarely do a lot of fairy tale looks, just because I'm one of those people that like, I don't like to do something that's been heavily done before. So this was something that I was like, okay, I really want to do it because I've always wanted to do a fae or fairy folklore photo shoot as well as makeup, and hadn't done too much up until that point, as well as I just love the colors, and I just recently got that wig and I was like about to put all the use into it I can, and this was a perfect opportunity. As well as I had some really great like blue highlight that like is everything that I very rarely get to use because I don't use a lot of blues in my makeup, even though like green is my favorite color and I should be using a lot of like blues because those complement each other really well, but never really get around to using it or actually putting it on quite often. So this was like the perfect opportunity for it. And the other thing about this was, not gonna lie, it was kind of hard to find the right clothing to go with this look, just because I don't think I thought that far. So yeah, whatever YouTuber tells you like, oh yeah, this was like super ahead of time plan, some of us plan, and those of us, well, like most of the time I plan, but like in this instance, I planned the look prior to the actual like clothing. So like it was something I had to find that, and it was just, I was very like hell bent on making sure the look itself was very clean cut and just nicely and elaborately done. That, and usually I would have gone with like a softer lash look on this, but because I knew there was going to be a lot more going on with the rest of the look, I didn't want the lashes, if they were too feathery and small and angelic like, which was the original intention, to get lost in translation with the rest of the makeup, which I'm really happy I did because it still looks very light and feathery. It's just the side profile gives it more volume and more flair. And I think one of my favorite things about this look was the fact that like I did a colored lipstick. So if you notice like this is like super blue, but then later on you pick up the purples and everything, and I really wanted to do this because it was part of like, okay, I didn't want to paint my entire skin a different color, so I was like, we'll just do this in a manner in which that'll help tie in the whole look together, and voila, you here we go. This is how everything looked together. The flower crown, the wig, the ears. And like I said, I had to pick the ears, so the color is slightly off, but it looks great and hope you enjoyed.